what is that? He was like, that's a tumor, Miss Lee. And I was like, huh. Hi, welcome to Manda Talks.
Light up, light up, light up. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Manda. If you can't tell, I'm freaking nervous, okay? You don't recognize my name or you don't recognize my face, however you're watching this. My story is very well known. It's very publicated. It's been posted in books even. And I feel like it's time for me to start a darn podcast. So here we are. Ta-da! I want you guys to know that I've been trying to do this for years since my diagnosis, but I could not get on my feet financially. So thank you everybody for, if you bought anything on the TikTok shop to help me, you are supporting me doing this. Literally, thank you. Sponsored by myself on the TikTok shop. This is a little rough, probably rough audio and visually. Like you can see this light here, right? That's because this is Manda Talks' first episode. And I am going to be telling my story first in a very raw way. And then from here on out, I'm going to be using it like a talk show to interview my friends and wonderful survivors and amazing advocates, doctors, lawyers, just amazing people I've met along the way who do incredible things where we can sit and talk about difficult situations in a fun and interesting way. Now, I do have a sense of humor, so I'm going to warn you. Some people may find it a little dark. That's totally okay. A lot of cancer survivors have dark humor, so I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. I'm really, really lucky. And when I say I'm lucky, only because the people on TikTok saved my life. I truly mean it. So what do I mean by that? That's a big statement. They've literally used that as a headline for when I've gone on television shows. And quite frankly, it's true. I really can't wait to tell everybody the story because I feel like not everybody knows the entirety of it, and it is truly, truly magical. So here I was, and just a little backstory. I grew up in California and I did musical theater my whole life, mostly like funny, comedic, physical comedy. That's the type of things that I did. So when I say post-cancer, sitting here saying this raw form of talking kind of scares me, but I would do a stand-up show anytime. Truly, this scares me, but I appreciate you guys being here and being so supportive. So I know you're gonna be there for me through all of it and be there through my guests on this show when it's gonna be hard for them too. Here I am. I have a booming photography business, wedding photography. So 2020 was gonna be my first year fully booked with weddings as a wedding photographer. And then once 2020 shut everything down, I had to refund those deposits. And by the time the pandemic hit, I was already in a hole financially because I had given thousands of dollars back for those wedding deposits. And if you don't know, wedding deposits are thousands of dollars. So I returned all the deposits. Glad I did. No problem. Like genuinely glad I returned every deposit. 2020 happens and I go through a giant breakup with my boyfriend of 7.5 years. And this was really terrible and obviously political based. So I didn't talk about it at all. It was really hard for me to even process. And even to this day, like just thinking about it, I shake like a chihuahua. So when it comes to this situation, I started losing weight right after the breakup. And Thanksgiving rolled around. I wasn't eating much and I wasn't thinking anything of it because of the breakup. At Thanksgiving, I was having, like indigestion issues really bad. So it was at that point where I was like, okay, maybe this is something serious instead of, this me brushing it off as relationship issues. So Thanksgiving comes and go, Christmas comes, and the pain obviously gets worse. And this is all going to be TMI. I could not get poop out of my butt. Okay, so keep in mind, if I had a tumor, literally had a tumor the size of, like a grape or so in my colon. So obviously couldn't get through it, so obviously a whole month comes by and I'm like, okay, this indigestion turned into something's wrong. So I start calling my doctor and I'm like, hey doc, I know it's the holidays, but like help. And he's like, can you hold off till New Year's? So I hold off till New Year's, and then he's like, I'm like, hey doc, help. Something is ballooning out when I like ballooning out, and then I have to like push it in order for anything to. And he's like, we're on the phone obviously at this time. He's like, Miss Lee, this is my primary care, my poor primary care. He's like, Miss Lee, that's not normal. So I need you to, this is the first time it started to panic. He goes, I need you to go to the ER and I need you to tell them to give you an x-ray. But I marched my butt in the height of COVID. Like walked into the tent outside and was like, my doctor told me to come in and get an x-ray. And I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know why. Finally bring me inside. They put me in one of these rooms with a zipper. And mind you, when I'm in this pain, I'm in like so much pain. I'm shaking like from I'm like in shock from the poop pain. And at this point I had given myself on my bathroom floor, chapter of Amanda's book, I gave myself an enema, and that enema like put me into shock. And I told my mom, I was like, and I told my doctor at that point, I was like, it's too much poop. Like there's too much poop, but it's not coming out. But little did I know, it's probably because I had a tumor. Yeah. And I was like, literally like hitting my tumor with an enema. Okay, never mind. So we go back to the ER, and me and my mom, and she has to wait outside. So they put me in the ER and they locked me up. They zipped me up, inside one of those little plastic rooms at the time, because it's, the panini is just rampant. And the woman doctor comes in and says, I hear you want an x-ray. And I said, yes, I do. And she said, listen up, Miss Lee. We don't do, and I can almost quote this, unnecessary x-rays on women's abdomen for no reason. And I said, well, my doctor asked for one, and I'm in a lot of pain. What do I do for this? And she's like, oh, not an x-ray, because it could kill your eggs. Plot twist. You know what else kills your eggs? Chemotherapy. We'll get to that though. Okay. So she did not give me that x-ray, and I left that emergency room with Senna, which is a laxative. Of course, like I'm a dummy and I haven't tried that before. So at this time, it's been months that I've been scooping feces out of my own ballooning butthole, and every doctor that I have seen in an emergency room, in an urgent care, has given me laxatives, and no x-ray, no CT, no test, no referral to a GI. And my personal doctor just keeps being like, literally, you have a referral to a GI, but like you are not going to get in. So then I find a GI and try to get in. And that begins the hope of what Amanda thinks is going to be her IBS diagnosis. Wait. I hear you laughing. Okay, obviously we know it's not IBS. It's wild. So here we are. I find a doctor, and he could take me in pretty quickly. Not the best rating, but at this time I'm like, I got IBS, and my doctor's given me all the medications he could try, and the emergency room's not listening, so this is what I got. So I march my little butt in there, and I drive myself, and I walk in there. He sits me down, and he looks at me, and I remember him asking me, he goes, well, what's the problem? And before I could finish, he interrupts. I just want to remind you that pre-cancer Amanda was such an angel. Okay? She was a beautiful patient angel and would not interrupt or be angry to anybody in power. Okay? So this man interrupting me, I was like, oh, he must have the answers. So I shut up. I let him continue, and then he's like, what are you eating? And you guys can't see what I look like right now. But right now I sit at a size 16, 18. Back then, I was like a 12, 14. And he looked at me and said, what are you eating? And I was like, nothing. Literally, that's why I'm here. All I eat is apple food and baby puree, which is pretty much my entire diet. And he said, maybe that's a blessing. And when I said, I'm sorry, what? He said, maybe that's not such a bad thing. And I looked at him, and I cannot remember what the hell he said for the next, 10 minutes? And I literally was like, okay, Amanda, let this man just talk, because he's obviously not going to listen to you. Get your medication and get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Get the medication and get the fuck out. So he stopped talking. And at some point I said, so are you going to do any tests? And he said, no, because you don't look malnourished. And I said, okay, great. And I grabbed the prescription and I walked out. And I sat in my car and I filmed this TikTok.
So I just got out of the GI doctor, and I've been struggling with abdominal cramping for a month now, and no doctor will listen to me. So I finally got this new GI doctor that I had to fight for, and I told him that I haven't been eating because it causes pain, and I'm in pain when I eat. And he looked at me and had the audacity to say, maybe that's not such a bad thing. I'm so upset.
And I didn't post it. It didn't load. It just didn't load. I didn't have service. But I called my best friend at the time, and she said, go back in and ask for the office manager. So that's what I did. I asked for the office manager, and she literally looked at me, blinked at me twice, blink, blink, and walked away from me, grabbed him, and walked right back. And she did not say a thing, but when I tell you that woman was an ally, because he also had repeated to her, confirming that he said this to me. So I have it in writing from her through Blue Shield that he said this. I have it documented. What a beautiful angel that woman is. And I believe she lost her job. I'm pretty sure she did. Yeah, because I went back in and she was not there. But so she grabbed him. She was like, yeah, I ain't doing this one. So she grabbed him, and I'm starting to yell at him how dare you say that I don't deserve to eat? And he's like, okay, don't yell at me in the lobby. Come sit down. in the office. So he sits me down in the office, like, go on and yell at me. And I'm like, you don't know if I have an eating disorder or not. You don't know my history with food. Like, you can't praise that someone's not eating. That's not okay. Like, you're a doctor. He basically was like, maybe you're being too sensitive. Maybe you should find a doctor that's more sensitive to your needs. And yeah. I'm sorry you're so sensitive. And I remember being like, what the you're kidding me, right? So then I marched my ass out of there again. And then I made another TikTok that didn't upload. So here I am with 2 of these like TikToks that are just trying to upload. And I'm like having the worst fucking day of my life, being like, okay, well, I guess that's that. Let me go try to cash in this medication. So I go to get this medication at the pharmacy, and I literally go home, go to bed, and I wake up to those videos going fucking viral. Okay, like insane viral. And I had barely had a TikTok, barely posted any videos. Obviously, I was vocal about, BLM and things like this at this time, and I would post about them. But you guys have to understand that I was still very polite. And this moment like lit a fire in me. I wake up to I like the amount of people. I wake up to the amount of people. I think what was most shocking was that on my Instagram and my TikTok, I not only had people in my messages, but I had people in my DMs literally saying, this happened to me. I almost lost my life because of this. Like, this doctor said this to me. I haven't gone back because of this. I've been fat shamed since I was X years old because I've been, big my whole life. I've never been able to find a doctor that I can trust. And these are things that I read message after message and was like, oh my gosh. People in the videos start stitching my videos, being like, your symptoms are really scary. Like, really scary. I need you to go in the doctor. And I was like, yeah, I'll go in. I'll go back, right? But one woman in particular, and I tell you, like, Dr. Mike stitched my video. I had countless doctors stitch my video. Famous doctors, independent doctors came out of the woodwork to stitch my videos. When I say that these advocates, everybody came forward to advocate for me online. And I was like, well, it's just IBS. But this one woman stitched my video. And she stitched my video and she said, listen, I just lost my husband to esophageal cancer. And I don't want to freak you out, but I need you to go see a GI. I need you to go back. Like, please go back. And I could hear the worry in her voice. And I was like, okay, well, I don't have esophageal cancer. Like, it's just IBS, but okay, I'll go back. Okay, I'll go back. I'll go back. So, I spent weeks. And when I say like weeks, and at this time I had no energy and very little strength, and I wasn't eating, but whatever time I could sit up and be awake, I would use to call every doctor that took my insurance in the local area. And I would call them and I would say, they were like, hi, this is so-and-so. This is so-and-so's doctor's office. How can I help you? Hi, this is Amanda. I'm trying to find a doctor. How do you like your job? How do I like my job? There you go. And that's when I would know. Because the woman that answered the phone for Dr. Tamina Hawk, she answered it like this. I said, "Hi, I'm trying to find a doctor. How do you like your job?" Oh, I love my job. Literally, Dr. Tamina Hawk is great. She is wonderful, and I love working for her. She's great. And I knew everything I needed to know with that one question. And it was simply out of necessity to survive. I figured out this weird hack. So I finally found this doctor. I made an appointment with her. And I got lucky when I say the cards aligned, because Dr. Tamina Hawk just opened her practice because she just moved out here. And she barely has any patients. What are the odds? Like, literally, what are the odds? So Dr. Hawk is obviously sent from above. And I get an appointment with her. I walk into the door and I see this most beautiful curvy nurse who takes my temperature. And when I say it's like a sigh of relief, I was like, oh my God, finally I'm at a doctor's office that's going to not fat shame me and probably take me seriously. Their nurses look like this. It was like a sigh of relief. So I go in the back and I finally meet Dr. Hawk. And when I tell you that I don't even get how Dr. Hawk understood what I was saying, because I think the doctor's appointment went something like this. I had notes with me in my hand, and I was probably shaking. And I was like, this doctor did this to me, and I don't know what's wrong with me. And I didn't even know the word colonoscopy. It wasn't even in my vocabulary at this point. And I literally was like, and I don't know what's wrong, and I think I just have IBS. And she literally was like, okay. So you've never seen a GI doctor? No. And you've been on omeprazole since you've been 18? Yes. And I'm 27. Yes. And you've never seen a GI doctor in your whole life? No. Okay, and all these problems, we go over them again, and she looks so freaking concerned, and I remember she never even sat down. That is how quick this appointment was. Dr. Hawk looked at me over her mask, and I remember her big eyes blinking, oh my God, she was scared. I could see this, I could see it in her eyes. And then she said, okay, we have a colonoscopy and an endoscopy scheduled for you literally within that week. Within that week. Okay? Within that week. And she finagled it to the point where, okay, well, I can't do your colonoscopy within this week, but my partner doctor also can take your insurance. He can do it, and I'm under him. So we could do it in that hospital, and he's going to do it. Boom. So I get this colonoscopy by this doctor, Dr. Pangalori, okay? And he's obviously he's not Dr. Hawk, but I go in there, I do the colonoscopy prep, whatever, do the whole thing. He gets in there, and I'm awake, which is not normal. Okay, you should not be awake for your colonoscopies. You will not be awake for your colonoscopies. That's not normal, okay? Why am I awake? I don't know. I probably have some underlying medical condition that allows me to be awake. I'm awake, and they have a cute little TV screen, and you're laying on your left side, and usually they have the scope in, and he's looking, the doctor can look at the screen in front of him while he's scoping with the other hand, right? That's why the screen is right there. But obviously I wake up and I look up and there's the screen and I see a big black dot. Now the big black dot was not my tumor. It was actually a tattoo that they gave me to mark the tumor. But I was like, what is that? And I look up and I say that, what is that? That's a tumor, Miss Lee. And I was like, huh. Well, that makes sense. I really didn't know how else to react. I mean, we found it. We figured it out. I literally went to hell and back. He couldn't even get past the tumor. It was so big. It was so big. So he had to stop the colonoscopy. He immediately left the room and was like, hey, told my mom, was like, your daughter is cancer. Need to be diligent about this now. Like, I almost guarantee it's cancer, And he couldn't obviously say for sure, but he was very much like, buckle up. And so I left the hospital, and I was like, felt weird just leaving the hospital, like with knowing this, like what was weird. And I ate, and I was kind of like in a daze, but like, okay, well, we found it. Thank God we found it. And I had already like kind of in my head was like, okay, well, they had whatever tumor in there has to go. So, I couldn't process whether it was cancer or not, but I knew right away. I was like, well, it's gotta go. And so we were driving home, and I was like not feeling well. I go home and I sleep, and I'm like not feeling well. And I'm like, this pain's really bad. And I wake up and I'm like, Mom, this pain is really bad. And I'm like screaming, like, this is bad. This is bad. So she's calling the doctor, and I'm on the phone with Dr. Pangalori. He's like, Miss Lee, get in the car now. I love his bluntness. Honestly, like, I have to say, Dr. Pangalori, what's great about him, his bluntness was very like refreshing. Yeah, he's like, Miss Lee, get in the car now. You're going to the hospital. We're going to remove your colon. Okay, but come on in. I was like, great, let's go. Cool. Awesome. And here I am thinking like, great, I just need my colon removed. And my mom's driving me to the hospital. Like, it's like a 25-minute drive. She's driving me being like, oh my God, my daughter is literally going to like not survive. And I'm like eating Tums, trying to burp myself because I thought that the pressure would be relieved. No, it was my colon swelling shut. So, I was just like really naive, thinking it was still like gas at this point. Like, I obviously knew it was a tumor, but it was still like, I can relieve this pain. So they admit me right away. And obviously, cut to, I got to keep my colon. I obviously got to keep my colon because my white blood cell count was too high for surgery. So I had an infection. They were able to monitor me for a couple days, and the pain went away. And I just didn't eat for a while. And then I left the hospital, and I prepped for my surgery, that I had colon cancer at this time, that it was positive for colon cancer. We didn't know the stage of it, but we did know the grade, I believe. They prepped me for surgery, and I had my sigmoid removed, and they told me I was going to be normal after. And I think that they all thought, I think everyone thinks that you're going to be normal after cancer, which I think is a big understatement. Just mentally and physically, I was not normal, my colon just doesn't work right. My stomach just doesn't work right. And then my brain just doesn't work right. But all of those things are small price to pay for a long life. And I think that, it did take me 3 years to adjust to it. But I remember posting online that I had cancer, and keep in mind all of those people that came with me that were in those comments of those videos trying to be medical detectives became like, none of them had predicted colon cancer because I was so young. And so I came out and was like, I'm the girl who was denied a proper treatment by this doctor. And I'm also the girl who has colon cancer. And that video went crazy too. And everyone went on this journey with me. And everybody went on this, chemo session with me where I fought cancer. And it was really magical. And now, post-cancer, obviously trying to get on my feet and, losing wedding photography and things like that, I just have a different brain. My brain doesn't work the same, but I still have all of the same equipment. I know how to do it. I'm a little slower this time. So I feel like, if I'm my own boss, maybe I can be successful. So I'm going to be using my skills to try to produce this. And I'm really lucky I was able to get on my feet from the TikTok shop. I had a video go viral, and since then I've been selling things. And full transparency, I try to keep full transparency on there too. I've tried to get brands to sell plus size clothing, since I do sell a lot of plus. So that's one of the things I try to do with it. But on the other side, it is literally paying for me to be an advocate in real life for people. You know, I have active patients that I work with on a daily basis, that I check in with, that I call, that I go to appointments with. And those are obviously things that I can't necessarily share. But, you know, this experience has really turned me into an advocate. And I know that the colon cancer community has not really taken me in, and it's kind of difficult because the way I kind of look at it is I got really lucky, right? Like, I will have a long life, or if not longer time, than my friends who are getting diagnosed with this. And I think that gives me more time to keep shouting about it. And colon cancer is almost preventable with a colonoscopy. So I feel like with my knowledge and my advocacy and my work and my time and, you know, somehow a way to pay my bills, I think we could really, really make some difference. And I've already made some difference and some change with a couple friends, just a couple friends already around my age. I've helped get precancerous polyps removed. One of them was cancerous, and I am allowed to share those stories. So maybe I'll talk about a couple of them in the future, but I just want you guys to know that I know a lot of times on my other social media platforms, I seem very chaotic, and that's because that's how the platform is. And I mean, I am chaotic. If you know me in real life, I just wanted longer form content to be able to express myself and other people better. If you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them. And most importantly, I want you guys to know that I appreciate you. I think that it does not go unnoticed in my heart that I am only alive because of the masses. Like it's not the app, it's the people on the app. You're like, yes, the app is the tool, but the people, like, there's true good. And I hope you guys know that it really encourages me to use my voice. And I know that I come off pushy, and I know that I come off really strong, and it's mostly because I'm passionate. And quite frankly, I feel like you guys kept me alive to do that, to shout and make some noise. And I that's the least I can do. So I appreciate you. And I know I'm very lucky, and I'm really happy to be able to have a platform where I can share other people's stories. And I really, really can't wait to do that. So thank you for listening. What you take away from my story is to advocate for yourself. I think even in your darkest hour, the only person who will shout for you or who'll be in the ring is you. And you deserve to be shouted for. So shout for yourself. And that's kind of where patient advocacy comes in, where sometimes you just can't always shout for yourself. So you can put me in coach, and then I can kind of at least take some notes. I really have to say, going to doctor's appointments by yourself, just don't do it. Take a buddy, okay? Always take a buddy and have them take notes. Yeah, I think that's everything. I appreciate you. I don't want you guys to run and be like, I'm so stressed, I need a colonoscopy. Obviously, if you have bleeding, like, go get it checked. I'm going to make a follow-up video of signs and symptoms to look out for. But if you have IBS and blood that's been going on for way too long and you have pain, like years, like if you have symptoms like that for years, you should just get it checked, period. Like, that's enough for you to go get it looked at. And to me, that's kind of like, I think we just need to start taking our gut a little more seriously than we did before, because I think we blame ourselves and our diet, but we need to start considering that some things could be wrong. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for keeping me alive. I'm sorry it took me so long to get this going. Foremost, I couldn't do this without you guys listening ever. And you guys keep coming back and keep lifting me up. So tell me how I can do that in return. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay out of trouble, but most importantly, stay beautiful.